I watch a lot of movies for this channel. Every now and then, a movie comes along that feels like it was lifted straight out of another time. And Blue Moon is exactly that kind of film. It's smoke-filled rooms, scotch glasses clinking, and two men wrestling with fame, friendship, and the cost of genius. Let's talk about it. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the garage. Gerald here with you, of course. We're doing another movie review today, and we're diving into the new Richard Linklater film, Blue Moon. A film that takes us back to 1943, the night Oklahoma opened on Broadway, and into the complicated partnership of Richard Rodgers and Lorenz Hart. I was expecting for this movie to be okay, fine, but it's actually one of the biggest surprises for me of the year. Let's talk about Richard Linklater's Blue Moon. On the evening of March 31st, 1943, legendary lyricist Lorenz Hart confronts his shattered self-confidence in Sardi's bar in New York as his former collaborator Richard Rodgers celebrates the opening night of the groundbreaking hit musical Oklahoma. This is Richard Linklater in full command. Not flashy, showy, but deeply assured. Blue Moon is a chamber piece. It's a bunch of guys in tuxedos sipping scotch while cigar smoke fills the air, and somehow it's completely mesmerizing. The production design and the costuming transport you straight into the 1940s in New York City, and the cinematography feels like a photograph slowly coming to life. There's a lot of great things from a technical standpoint that Blue Moon has going for it, for sure, but I want to definitely make sure to spend some time on the performances in this film, because this cast showed up big time. Ethan Hawke delivers what I would call his career best performance. The only other film that might rival that is First Reformed. Otherwise, this is the best I've ever seen him. He played Lorenz Hart like a man who can't stop performing even when no one is watching. There's a heartbreaking undercurrent. Every joke, every song, every wink hides another layer of loneliness for this guy. On the flip side, Andrew Scott as Richard Rodgers is all composure and restraint, the polar opposite of Hart's chaos. He's measured, tired, but loyal, that quiet way that only true partners can be. And when these two share a 5-minute scene on the stairwell, it's like watching acting royalty spar. Funny, painful, beautifully written, and easily one of my favorite scenes of the year. Margaret Qualley, who of course impressed in The Substance last year, adds another texture entirely as Elizabeth. She's this young woman caught between admiration and temptation. There's a push and pull in scenes with her with Lorenz Hart that are both innocent and quietly dangerous. And I have to shout out Bobby Cannavale, who shows up as the bartender at Sardi's. His character might not have a ton of screen time, but he brings that Linklater warmth, the way a side character can end up saying everything that we need to hear as the audience. What really hit me is how Blue Moon understands creative partnerships, how two people can create something wonderful, eternal, but one of them always fears of being left behind. The film is funny, tragic, and tender all at once. It's about legacy, ego, and the kind of friendship that keeps you alive long after the curtain drops. Blue Moon isn't loud, it doesn't beg for awards attention. It's just confident, authentic, and made by a filmmaker who still finds poetry in conversation. As I already alluded to, it is beautifully acted and a wistful return to form for Richard Linklater, and it's one of the most quietly moving films of the year. As I lead into the craft and the crux, which is essentially my final score of the film, as I have mentioned before, if a movie makes me interested in the topic that it is presenting because it's something that I didn't have a lot of knowledge of, then it is a winner. And I knew of Rodgers and Hart, I knew even more so of Rodgers and Hammerstein, which in a sick irony is kind of the point of this movie, at least from Hart's POV. But I dove into a huge rabbit hole about Lorenz Hart after seeing the film, and I commend everyone involved, especially not only Linklater, but Ethan Hawke. This actually could shake up my Oscar predictions, which, as you guys know if you are regular to this channel, is something that we do very heavily throughout the year. And right now I've got him as a near miss, but after seeing Ethan Hawke's portrayal of Hart in this movie, I think, at least based on performance alone, and of course you have his resume, I mean he's been doing it forever, he is one of the best 5 performances that I have seen this year so far. First up will be the craft of the film. These are all the technical aspects of the film, everything that kind of goes on behind the camera. which of course would include the direction, the screenplay, and as I mentioned before, the wonderful cinematography, costumes, and production design, which also have a shot at the Oscars this year, depending on the reception of the film overall. My score for The Craft is going to be a 9 out of 10. This is one of the better looking films of the year. It reminded me a little bit of Woody Allen's Midnight in Paris, except that it's taking place in the 1940s in New York City. And then the crux score is basically the performances and the way the film kind of sat with me after I left the theater, and I'm going to give that an 8 out of 10. The performances were absolutely to die for. Some terrific banter and back and forth scenes between Scott and Hawke. Margaret Qualley does her bite lip to perfection in this movie, and I already mentioned how this is easily one of Ethan Hawke's best performances of his career. The overall score on Richard Linklater's Blue Moon is going to be a 9 out of 10. Almost perfect. I love this movie for all the reasons I mentioned on this video. What did you guys think of Blue Moon, or are you planning on seeing it? Do you have an interest in this topic? 1940s musical theater, the lyricists, the score writers, their partnerships. It really fascinated me, and I think it's because of Ethan Hawke and the way he really brought this real-life person back to life for 90 minutes. And he was able to just spark my interest in this topic. Let me know what you think down below, and I really appreciate you, as always, tuning into this movie review. I will see you guys next time in the garage.